the program today. The program is Voters Forum, and I'm Wale Ogunade, the host of this program. Today we're going to look at the off-season election, or off-cycle election as some people call it, in the three states of Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo State. I want to look at it, how far so far as it were, and of course maybe INEC, if they are watching, they too will now use it as a point of improving themselves, so that by the next elections that will be coming up in Edo State, they will be up and doing. All the hiccups experienced and observed in the 3 elections will now be a thing of the past. Be that as it may, before we go to our mini feature, let me quickly introduce my co-host.
Yes, it's good to be here again. Of course, I always say this in every program that we are close to December, so I'm going to say happy holidays to people who are coming up very soon to go on their holidays. My name is Rose Blossom, and of course you're welcome to Voters Forum. Here we give you information of everything you need to know as a citizen, and when it comes to election, we give you first-hand information and knowledge of what you need to do as a voter. And don't forget, we're streaming live on all our social media platforms at Galaxy Television, on our Facebook and Twitter. So yes, you can actually watch us live on every of our live programs. And yes, there's a number that will be displayed below your screen TV where you can send text messages to. And please, while you're sending that, please indicate your name and your location. And of course, you can bring up your questions, bring up your ideas, and bring up whatever thing you notice during the election. And of course, yes, we'll be dealing about, of course, the post-mortem of the off-election. Well, we have a mini feature, like Barrister said, which we'll be taking before we, start cracking. Barrister.
Yes, we'll crack very soon. So let's have the mini feature. And when we are back, then definitely we will unveil our guests who is on Zoom, who are on Zoom as it were. Then, of course, they will hit us. We want this time around for you to have it real time on time. What happened at the scene, not even studio, that will be speaking English.
Elections held in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states on Saturday were characterized by manipulation of results, violence, voter apathy and buying of votes. This is coming as Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) delayed the collation of results for Bayelsa State governorship election for over 48 hours. INEC also adjourned elections in 9 wards of Ogori-Magongo local government area of Kogi State for next Saturday. These Nigerians say the challenge of the election was not solely from INEC, as both security agencies and even the politicians have been accused of frustrating the process of free, fair and credible election.
We were expecting a lot of things to change, especially from the side of the INEC. Because they said if you want to kill a snake, you kill it by its head. But if you refuse to kill a snake by its head, then a snake will behave why they call it a snake. We were expecting INEC to change or to take a clue of what happened in presidential election and some of the governorship election. But INEC, at the end of the day, INEC disappointed the people. Before even the accreditation somewhere in Kogi, the results were already written.
I'm completely disappointed. We are heading to a one-party state, and if care is not taken, you will be called upon that you are given free ticket, you will reject it. Because there is no way you waste your time, waste your resources. Then, the empire are supposed to be fair to everybody. They are not. The security agencies, the police, the INEC, and lastly, the judiciary.
INEC, police, security agents, and INEC, they are the problem of this country.
Politicians, who are the major actors in an elections, have also been challenged on need to regulate their conduct during electioneering processes and must stop any form of inducing the electorate.
Like that of Bayelsa, I have never heard something like that. The one I heard the day before yesterday. Bayelsa, I don't know which of the party that was giving her 40,000 to buy a vote. In Bayelsa, there's a particular party that was giving 40,000 naira to buy a vote. But that of Kogi, could you believe a whole candidate refused to vote because EFCC was coming to the polling unit? Did not melee. That was the first time in history hearing something of that nature. A whole candidate refused to vote because EFCC were coming to that polling unit. Now, if you are talking about vote buying, those people try as much as possible to cause a problem between within the society, just to create organ, just to create some kind of financial problem, just to create all kind of things, so that the moment they present that money, you will not have the mind to say no.
They deliberately put poverty into people, so that anytime they bring money, you just collect. If things are working fine, if things were going fine, they will bring money. There are some instances that they bring money, people do not go. Sometimes they will collect the money and they will vote for their conscience. So the same thing will happen, but eventually, I'm really disappointed with what happened. I'm disappointed.
They also said for the country to get it right, a change of orientation is necessary.
Yes, you're welcome back. You see the way those people, they para. Everyone is agitated in this country, want Nigeria to be the best. And I'm happy that we are all looking at the various institutions that makes the democracy work. INEC, the police, and the political parties. But unfortunately, most of the three of them are left the voter. You, the voter, and that's why this program is on. You, the voter, it's very, very strange and it's very, very disturbing that despite all the effort of people like us, this program and co, we still find issues of voter apathy. Yes, there will be crisis, there will be insecurity and so on. I guess it's one of the platforms I told them that no, people should go out and vote because the place is well secured. Well, that will be another discussion for another day. Today, unfortunately, just as I told you before we went for the mini future, we'll have two of those who really were on ground, gidigba. They observed the elections close quarters and they will give us their thoughts and opinion. Can we just have Julie? How are you, my sister? Julie?
Juliet Okiyi, can we have you?
Good afternoon. How are you? Okay, since the female wants to take over, female, do that.
Okay, Juliet Okiyi, thank you so much for joining us. She's an election observer from Owerri, Imo State, and I think I can see Jim Dogu is also an election observer from Yenagoa, Bayelsa State, which is very interesting. But I'm actually very interested in the Bayelsa State based on what we watched, the mini feature, which we watched. We realized that a lot of citizens, a lot of voters were complaining about the election based on vote buying, and it's more like they were saying that because of the rate of poverty, which is very high right now, so it pushes a lot of people, it makes them not being able to say no when the money is being brought to them. And according to a lot of people, they said they were bringing 40,000 naira for voters to actually get their votes. What's your reaction to this? Let Jim Dogo actually answer this one. Is there anything like that happen? Did anything like that happen at Bayelsa State?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Yeah, like you rightly said, my name is Dr. Jim Dogo, and I'm the founder of McGinn Foundation, and the McGinn Foundation is a member of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. And as we all know it, every election cycle, we are at the forefront of observing elections, in Nigeria all round. And I have been coordinating the Bayelsa for a while now. I used to be the steering committee member representing the South of Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. So when you talk about election, I've actually been part of the whole process for a long time and understand what's going on. Yeah, you talked about the issue you raised, which is vote buying. I think that talking about vote buying is incomplete if you don't talk about vote selling as well, because the two goes together. It's not just about the politicians, but it's also about the voters themselves. It has become some sort of a norm. Some of the observations that we found in the field is that some people who went there to vote wouldn't vote because they haven't been given money. So they will collect the ballot paper and turn around to look out for who would pay, and then they get money before they pay. or they may have negotiated what they want to, who they want to vote, and they would then vote and then come for money. And so that has become hitherto the kind of campaign that we used to have. These days you can see campaigns are not necessarily issue based. People don't come up with manifestos. People don't, try to meet voters. Analysis of who is going to vote. How am I going to get these voters convinced to look at my manifesto, understand, the political ideology that I'm bringing into, I'm bringing into play, and all of that. What are the things I want to do if I win this election and all of that? So that kind of campaign, you hardly find it. And the cost of campaign, to a great extent, has also, in a way, be considered to include vote buying. It's part of the strategy of election these days. So candidates have also made resources available for the day of election, just so that they can. So yes, there is the high level of vote buying, and you can't say how much. It ranges from 5,000 to 40,000, depending on the power of the bargaining point with respect to the voter, the bargaining point. In some places, when there is high competition, a particular party will want to pay, say they started with 10,000, the other party will pay more, maybe 15, and then when the other party members understand that they are paying more, they will increase theirs. So it goes on and on and on. So vote buying has become a major challenge and a menace to the electoral process, to our governance system, and I think it's something that Nigerians need to begin to look at. But somebody said something in your feature that you displayed that I listened to, which is strategic. What is the leadership style of government these days? Is the leadership style targeted at creating and empowering people just so that they'll be able to take decisions and vote, or is the leadership style impoverishing people just so that they become poor, and therefore whatever that you dangle before them as a bait, they are ready to take it hook, line, sinker, and do your bid? These are some of the questions that we need to begin to ask ourselves and ask Nigerians, and find a way for us to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Julie, can you just give us your opening sentiments to your perspective, what you observed in the beginning?
Okay.
Before we now go deep.
Good afternoon, everybody, once again. My name is Juliet Obegeyoki, and I'm calling in on this program from Imo State. I am the Executive Director of Open Arms Initiative for Sustainable Development, and I've been on ground for a long time observing elections and working with women in governance and other strategic organizations that works on issues of election and electoral process. And my take on this is that, just as Jim said, it is vote trading. Where there is a buyer, there is a seller, and it is in Imo State. It is so bad. It was so bad that even polling agents were bought. In fact, there was a template for Imo election vote buying, because everybody in the election, as was observed, was bought. It ranges from what you are doing, who are you within the polls, what strategic role are you playing, and that, I think, determines what you are paid. For some people, there is a specific amount earmarked for certain persons, that you must give so and so and so persons doing so and so thing this amount of money. Then for voters themselves, it ranges from 2,000. In fact, in Imo, it was as low as 2,000, and people were willing. And when you go further to ask questions to find out, they will tell you the votes we've casted all along, what has happened. We cast our vote and they take their decision. So I take the money I see and I do their bidding, because even if I vote for whoever I want to vote for, if the person emerges finally, the court will decide against our will. So why do we waste our time every 4 years? And in Imo State, you see high-level voter apathy, because we also had to move around to different locations to observe what happened. And in some locations also, people came out, but because there were certain things that those INEC ad hoc officers did not come with, a lot of people backed up and said, because we didn't see so and so document, there is no need voting. And also, they leveraged on it to perfect whatever they wanted to do. So vote buying, as it were, in Nigerian electoral system is what we all need to look into carefully and analyze it. In Imo, I can bet you that it transcended beyond only voters. Those who were at the polls, even at different hierarchy, they made sure that their grounds were covered and everybody got the money, got his or her share of the money at the end of the day. So the question is, what is INEC doing? What are those who are in charge, ICPC and EFCC, that should apprehend and prosecute in cases of vote buying and vote trading?
Yes.
What were they doing on that day? What role do we all play to salvage this situation? Hunger is key, poverty is key. They have weaponized poverty and made it a point that everybody goes hungry when they dangle a bait. Just as the Jim said, you can't but help taking it. For some people, even if I don't take it, they will still come back if I take it. And at the end of the day, even at the state level, somebody who we voted for emerges. This is the situation in Imo State. When they go to court, the court will upturn the voice of the people. So why will I in the first place begin to waste my time and not take the money they bring? So it is an issue that we have to sincerely and dispassionately bring to the table to look at critically and find ways around it to make sure that those who are saddled with the responsibility of prosecuting offenders when it comes to vote trading indeed lives up to their call to duty. I think that's my take for now.
Yes, I appreciate that. That's very, very incisive. And Jim, I'll come back to you. Please, we want this narrative to change. You went there before I cut you short because we have to take my sister from Owerri. This issue of vote buying, you wanted to correct it, which I agree with you. Jim, I think I agree with you, that if there is no seller, there can be buyer. So what do we do to the sellers? How can we discourage vote selling? We just concentrate on vote buying. What can we do to discourage vote selling? Is there anything that can be done? From your perspective as an election observer. Jim, are you still there with us?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for that question. That gives me the thinking that, I mean, as a country, I think we've come to a point where we need to, galvanize some kind of an understanding of what we need to do as a people. What I mean is, it's not about the sellers alone or the buyers alone. It's also about the leadership of this country. It's about the electorate. It's about the stakeholders. It's about everybody. All of us need to do something. There needs to be what I call, social reorientation of the people. Is this the right direction in terms of the kind of electoral malpractices and issues that we have found? What are the things leading to vote buying and vote selling? We need to understand that in an election there will always be a winner and a loser, and that you lose doesn't mean that you have lost out as a person. We need to understand that the electoral process need to be fair, credible, and that it's acceptable as well. So it's not about a particular segment of society, but it's about all of us trying to rejig the political system and understand why we have the kind of challenges we have today in our governance. I mean, it's connected to everything. The very root of our governance, the insecurity that we're having, is as a result of probably having bad leaders in governments as a result of. And then how do we get bad leaders in government? Vote by. If I have money now as a person and I'm a criminal, I could easily find my way into office because I'll be able to buy votes. People, the voice of the people, the conscience of the people, the will of the people will not count. That's what it is. And so people have come into politics from every sector of society. Criminals have found themselves into politics. People who do not have leadership charisma have found themselves into politics, and all of that. But that's because the process has been made to be available for buying. So you have your money, you can easily buy it. Today, that's what it is today. So I think that first we need to have some kind of social orientation. We need to have an understanding as a people that we need to re-engineer our governance system and have a better focus in terms of what we want to do. We need to probably create an enabling environment for everybody to participate effectively in the political process. So, for example, the sales of party forms, it starts from there. You imagine the cost of sales of governorship forms, of other legislative arms, the state assembly, national assembly, and all of that. Even councillors, and chairmanship. When the elections come, in the case of Bayelsa, we will all hear the kind of amount of money that you want that will be put out there. It means that a particular sector of the society will not participate in this whole process. That means that the rich is targeted at just the rich. So we need to create an environment where people can participate effectively in the entire process. To be able to. You don't need to have money to be a good leader.
Okay.
You don't need to buy vote to be a good leader. There was a time in this country when people bought forms, contested fairly, went to.
Jim Dogo, thank you very much. Yes, please. Sorry for interrupting like that. We just had to. We have a message from a viewer, which I think I want us to also address before we go on a short break. So we're working with time. Thank you very much. This one says there is no reform that can make Nigeria have free and fair and also a credible election unless there is an attitudinal change. No technology can change things unless the people who operates the technology change. Nigeria's democracy is in danger by the INEC, the security agencies, the politicians, and the judiciary. The judiciary is supposed to be the last hope of the common man, but is the person with the big pockets and connection, like you said, is who wins. This is from Professor Charles, Lagos.
So we'll come back to you, Julie, after this break. So Julie, take this, just begin to think about it yourself, the thoughts, so that when we come back, you just hit us with them. Don't go away, just give up just some few minutes. We want to go on a break.
The governorship elections held in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states on Saturday were characterized by manipulation of results, violence, voter apathy, and buying of votes. This is coming as Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) delayed the collation of results for Bayelsa State governorship election for over 48 hours. INEC also adjourned elections in 9 wards of Ogori Magongo local government area of Kogi State for next Saturday. These Nigerians say the challenge of the election was not solely from INEC, as both security agencies and even the politicians have been accused of frustrating the process of free, fair and credible election.
We were expecting a lot of things to change, especially from the side of the INEC, because they said if you want to kill a snake, you kill it by its head. But if you refuse to kill a snake by its head, then a snake will behave why they call it a snake. We were expecting INEC to change or to take a clue of what happened in presidential election and some of the governorship election. But INEC, at the end of the day, INEC disappointed the people. Before even the accreditation somewhere in Kogi, the results were already written.
I'm completely disappointed. We are heading to a one-party state. And if care is not taken, you will be called upon that you are given free ticket, you will reject it. Because there is no way you waste your time, waste your resources. Then the empire that's supposed to be fair to everybody, they are not.
You're welcome back. Before we take Julie, let's take another message so that we balance it up. Maybe Jim, when Jim is coming up, we'll take that up.
Yes.
Jim, just listen.
Okay, this one says certainly this would increase voter apathy. Politicians are now going to be using either violence, thuggery, intimidation, or any other thing to win the election. And after they will say, let's go to court, knowing fully well that it's very difficult to prove irregularities. Please stop taking Nigeria backward. This is them trying to say they don't actually trust the that's Professor Charles from Lagos State. Okay.
So Julie, we are ready for you.
Julie, okay, please can you react to the comments, the first comments?
Particularly the role of the security agents. Go on.
The first message spoke about security agents and everybody. I think what happened during the presidential election, that election is an election that INEC should have used to redeem their image. I expected that INEC should have stuck to what the electoral reforms of 2022 spoke to concerning the use of beavers. And if that technology had been effectively deployed, we wouldn't be where we are today. A lot of people would have trusted the system, would have held INEC in high esteem. But as it is, with the outcome of that election and subsequently what happened last Saturday across the three states where there happened to be an off-cycle election, it goes to show that everybody is disappointed. If INEC can flaunt a statutory document, a legal document that they should stick to its dictates, and they decided to flout it, and a lot of interpretations at the end of the day was given to the use of beavers that they told us during consultations and stakeholders meeting that the beavers was going to be deployed. Without beavers accrediting you, you can't vote, and as soon as you vote, the results will be transmitted and all of that. You can begin to view the results on the IREV, and down the line, none of all of these happened. Even in the last election that happened across the three states that did an off-cycle election. So it goes to show that if you have your money, you can buy your way. Getting a technology is one thing, deploying it is another thing. If somebody who is in charge of a technology is bought over, and on that day the technology failed to work, uploads were not done, nothing was done, it goes to show that we have a long way to go. In fact, this current INEC has taken Nigeria 2,000 years behind, because we felt that with the new electoral law and the beavers and all the technologies and all the reforms that were put in place, we would have gone ahead to stabilize the electoral system and the governance structure of Nigeria and other states as it were. But with what happened, it shows that it will take ages for Nigeria to come out from the shock where they are, and voter apathy is there. If nobody trusts anybody. In the last election in Imo State, we saw places where the police were even used for ballot snatching. So if somebody who has been who has the authority to protect people, to stand there so that when thugs and people see you, they will have the confidence that we are protected. Then the thug sees you and say, that there are certain things I can do around here. And you, as a custodian of law, used for thuggery and ballot box snatching. What more can we say? I think it will take ages. It will take ages for INEC to redeem their image, and for whatever that has happened in February, March, then this 11th of November is what INEC as an election management body should bring to the table, tell themselves the truth, and know what to do about it. Because if nothing is done with what is seen within INEC, of course, politicians will have them at the tip. If you have your money to pay for so and so, people in INEC are willing to comply. That is the level where we are, and that is why everybody is saying that it is a time to grab my own. Election period in Imo State is a period where everybody who is willing to open their mouth and their hands to grab theirs do that without records to what our future as a people are, where we are headed for, without records to what Nigeria turns out to be tomorrow. So that is the state where we are, and I think that those saddled with responsibility, when I mean responsibility, everybody, INEC, politicians, electorate, ICPC, EFCC, the police, who is in charge of election security, everybody should live up to their mandate. I think not until we decide to begin to do the right things across all of these sectors, we will not get there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let me just quickly add something before we move on.
Yes,
just quickly, and I think I want to take, just say, take it up from where she concluded. Remember while I was giving my view of what we need to do, I actually do not want to mention any institution or agency that has a responsibility with respect to addressing the challenges that we have as a country. That's because for me, and that's my personal opinion, we have come to a level where I think we need. It's not about INEC anymore. It's not about the police. We are all neck deep in these challenges. Now we are all Nigerians. And I think the electorate themselves have a greater role to play. That's my opinion. Because I mean, we have we have strengthened our electoral laws from onset to this point, and we have introduced technology, and yet we find ourselves at this level at this point. Voter education has been going on. We've done quite a number of things to strengthen the electoral process. A number of the civil society has been engaging communities, the electorate, the INEC, and everybody, the police. There has been several trainings. I mean, the fact still remains that as a country, we have come to a point where nobody has confidence in any agency or in any group, and everybody saddled with such responsibility are also looking for opportunities to either enrich themselves or be able to put someone somewhere that they will benefit from. So this is where the electorate needs to take it up. That's where it is. I think the challenge is with the electorate. Our ability as electorate and as stakeholders and as citizens to say this has to stop. INEC officials are Nigerians, and they are not greater than Nigeria. The judiciary, the judges and other members of the judiciary are Nigerians, and they are not greater than Nigeria. And as a people, we need to understand this and stand together. In the case of Bayelsa, why was Bayelsa election, let me just conclude with this, why was Bayelsa election relatively peaceful, particularly on the day of the election? That was because at some point, there were, some citizens decided that, look, we are a state, we must not continue to have the kind of violence that we have continued to have in the past, and let's do the right thing and one of the candidates, I won't mention names, was actually very interested in ensuring that there is peace. And to some extent that paid off. So I think that citizens have a greater role in all of this. When we go to vote, if we decide to protect our vote, if we decide to ensure that our vote should count as citizens, as this we can do as a people. That's the point.
Jim, I would like
so it's about the citizens
Can I ask a question at this point? Can I ask a question?
Sorry, hold on, Juliet.
Yeah.
I have a question for him, but let me ask Jim a question. Then, of course, Juliet, you can direct the questions so we can answer them together. Now, Jim, I would like to ask you. You said Bayelsa was peaceful, and at the same time, I could hear from correspondent and from people who are actually, talking about it, that people actually, yeah. people actually, you know, there was vote buying and vote selling. Now, which brings me to the question is, yes, poverty is a tool that a lot of politicians are using. Now, do you think it's very possible for, as a Nigerian, to actually drop that tool of poverty? Yes, you're living in poverty or even abject poverty, and you need that money to live day by day. Do you think it's possible for Nigerian citizens to actually drop that poverty and say, yes, I want to cast, excuse me,
Yes,
I want to cast my vote and go ahead? Do you think it's possible?
yes, it is possible. It's about orientation. It's about our common understanding of the process and the greater benefit that we stand to benefit if we come together to protect our vote and our mandate. Because that's what it is. We understand, you know, green revolutions. We understand when people come to some sort of an understanding and agreement to move forward, and so their immediate benefit is no longer the consideration. It's about the larger benefit. It's about the greater benefit. So it's possible, and it depends. That also depends on the orientation, and that's why we need to call on civil society organizations. That's why we don't need to carry out voter education when it is few months or few weeks to election. You know, this is what happens. That has to be a conscious effort to engage people, to tell them the importance of what we are going into as a people with respect to, you know, because the election is what determines your future. It's what determines your development, and everything around you. Your life depends on the election. So we need to do that to have people protect their mandate. In some places where the people said no, you have to post the results at the unit level. They follow them to the local government collation center, and they make sure that the results are got to that level. And then when certain things are turned at the judiciary, we're in public. We're public. I would say we're in public. When certain things are turned in judiciary, what do we do as citizens? What have we done? Have we shamed anybody? At least, can we even start peaceful processes of shaming people who have done this to us? And my colleague from Owerri talked about the upturning of the very election. What did the people do with respect to those who were responsible in upturning that election? I mean, this is a conversation that I've had, and it's my opinion, and I think that on get to that level, that we find it difficult.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Juliet, okay, you have a question for Jim.
I wanted
go ahead and
ask a question. When the electorate do all they should do, and those who have the responsibility to uphold what the decision of the electorate is, flounce it, what do we do at that point? Remember, I will always speak about the February election. For the first time, you see everybody, the youth, in fact everybody. It was no longer like a normal election where you only see aged people who have done this over the years. Even first time voters, a lot of young persons came out because they trusted that these reforms that had been put in place is going to pay off at the end of the day. What happened? Even the beavers was manipulated. At the judiciary, some of the provisions of the Electoral Act was reinterpreted to mean another thing. At that point, that's my question. What can the electorate do? All we can do is to vote, protect our votes, to make sure that it reflects what we have voted at the end of the day. If it gets beyond where we can control and another thing emerges, what can we do at that point? It still has to be with what are we putting in place as systems, as structures. How far have we gone at holding people accountable? Do we have a system that can always flag red to things that are not supposed to be when it happens? We had the beavers that, in fact, I got depressed after the February March election because I got a lot of calls. Yes, I did. I got a lot of people were like, hello.
Yes,
we just want to intervene here so that
I said because a lot of people trusted on what we as civil society organizations were telling them that the beavers is here to make sure that whatever you vote reflects. After the election, a lot of us got into shock. because
Yes.
it was a rude shock that the beavers,
Yes.
we could not even see anything on the iRev. We could not even say yes, the beavers at this point did this. I was on ground during the February election. We saw all that happened. We saw even when elections took place and uploading the result was an issue. It was this particular technology that was deployed that we told people was a melting point. So I think it's high time that we look at the systems and the structures again to begin to find how we can strengthen them to make sure that at any point that a technology is deployed, people can say yes, this will be it, and it will go through without anybody truncating or anything truncating the system. That's my take on that.
And sorry for the two of you, since
can I just
no, before you come, let me just put some little
1 minute
here.
I'll be very short.
1 minute, don't worry, please. If we may want to interact or intervene or for us to relate with each other, if you see me waving my hand, can you see me? Jim, you can see me.
Yes.
So when you are talking, and Julie, if you see me waving my hand, it means I want you to round up or to relax, because we will come to intervene in the studio here. So that it's not we don't want a monologue, we want a dialogue. The way it is, we don't want a monologue. Please. So you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute, then we'll now intervene from the studio.
I understand the view of quite a number of speakers when you talk about the issues concerning this country with respect to holding persons in authority responsible and accountable. I understand that perfectly. In a system where things are organized, in a system where the accountable systems are working, institutions are working, that becomes what the people will rely on. But the challenge we have, and that has been the point that I'm trying to make, the challenge we have is that, like my colleague said, she was depressed and then she was shocked, which is what happened to quite a number of persons. I mean, I'm also part of that shock, and the fear of confronting the system is what has made us continue to this point. It means that we have to pray, to wait for someday that the people in leadership will have to understand these issues and start doing the right thing. Until that happens, then we don't have, a way forward on these challenges. But I think that as citizens and as stakeholders, it should come to a point where we need to confront the system. And that will happen if we have a common understanding, common agreement on some of these issues, and we come up headlong on, because when certain things are done and we accept it because we feel that those charged with the responsibility of doing the right thing have done the wrong thing, and therefore there's nothing we could do, then we can't have any system change. That's the point I'm trying to make, and I want to leave it at that point. Good. Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate you leaving it at that point, and at that point that's where I'm going to take it up for the two of you. Well, obviously we members of the civil society are always interested, and we're always involved in organizing. Now, I guess this is the time to organize ourselves. And in organizing, first of all, can you just give me a brief report? You talked about vote selling, vote buying and all from whatever happened in your area. The question, what I want is a report now, just within two minutes from you. What you saw, apart from the vote buying thing, were voters orderly? Did INEC come on time? Did the security men play their part? Because we have been involved in this thing, sometimes they will come late in some areas and vote will close at some time before the time, or did they allow some people? Then beavers did work very well in your area. What percentage will you score the performance of beavers in Owerri and Bayelsa State? Julie, yes, go on, can hear you.
Yes, we can.
In Imo State, they came on time in most places because I coordinated an observation team that also reported from different places in Imo State. So polls opened on time. Where polls opened late was like around 9. They were very early. And for most of the things that we were promised that we're going to have, we got. And by that I mean when there were materials for persons with disability. The polls were orderly. In some places, there were priority voting. I know in 2 or 3 places, I saw the tactile ballot and the tactile ballot guide. I also saw magnifying lenses and all of that. There were police officers who were there to do their duties and all of that. Relatively, polls opened very early and closed on time. INEC on their own try to make deployments where they are necessary. But then, just as I said when I started, in a particular local government, a lot of people said they were not going to vote because when they were showing the materials, they didn't show them the result sheet. And that thing hindered them. Some people said if we can't have the result sheet, there is no need voting at all. So I think polls opened early and people came out. A lot of things were done. A lot of things that INEC promised were going to be put in place to accommodate everybody, to ensure that inclusion is there, was done. But then there is a lot more to be done to make sure that the system is credible and everybody can trust it. Thank you.
Thank you
Jim,
very much.
Jim, what happened in your area physically?
All right.
Now?
As you said, but then, yes, it's similar to that what happened in Bayelsa. Of course, we all understand that Bayelsa is riverine. So before the election, we went out to check the distribution of materials in the states. President Electoral Commissioner, who said quite a number of the materials have also been moved to the various ROAs, the various wards, and all of that. So that was done. So polls opened, of course, relatively on time. Voting commenced also relatively on time, and also ended at the required time. And the few challenges that we had was in southern Nigeria, where it was reported that there was a boat mishap, and so the materials and everybody, they lost quite some of the materials, and so they had to INEC immediately. For some other elections in the past, we have experienced a situation where materials were jacked, and then INEC was unable to get materials available for those particular affected areas. But in this case, INEC was able to mobilize and get materials prepared. So they actually vote in those places. The voting commenced quite late, so they voted into the next day. But beyond that, everybody understood what happened in those places. But beyond that, materials got to places, people voted. We also had slight issues with respect to some challenges with respect to conflict in some of the areas. In Brass, somebody was reported to someone was killed in Brass, so there was death before the election. Anyway, in Nimbe, we also report of as a result of issues relating to the election, someone also died. But beyond that, on the day of the election, it was relatively peaceful, and I think that for the first time in Bayelsa, irrespective of the challenges that we have had, it has almost become an experience in Bayelsa that in every election cycle, people will lose properties and lives and all of that. To the magnitude that sometimes you probably won't be able to give an account of what has happened. But this time, election day was peaceful, irrespective of those deaths that were recorded. So it was better in my view. We of course, you can't equate the life to the whole process. Well, it's unfortunate that has happened, but I think that if security would be able to arrest people who perpetrate some of these actions and then bring them to book, I'm sure sometime we will be able to correct the system and ensure that people do not carry out some of these actions that they do on such days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Please, before you go, I was in Bayelsa, particularly Sagbama. Is it Okpokoro? The thing don't twist my tongue. Okoruma or somewhere, the Riverine area, we had to go on the water to observe the election. I'm happy you mentioned it because the time we went there, the boat capsized. Not my own boat, some other colleagues' boat capsized, but they would survive it. Do we have any such incidents this time around? Because it's like a normal.
Yeah, like I said, you know, it was reported in southern Niger that a boat capsized, and then but nobody died. They rescued everybody was rescued, but materials, of course, obviously they are going to lose, you know, some of the materials. But the INEC was able to mobilize and get some other materials, you know, to start the election pretty late, so they get into the next day. But beyond that, apart from the issues here and there that led to the death of somebody in Brass, the election generally was relatively peaceful.
The performance of Beavers, was it okay with what you observed?
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Yeah, that reminds me. I think there was. Well, let me not. The performance of Beavers in some areas was reported that the beavers were bypassed because of malfunctioning. Citizens are also aware, so they want to know that the beavers are functioning. They want to see that the beavers have not. Of course, there are a lot of information here and there.
Please, we only have 2 minutes. 1 more minute for you, then I'll give Juliet 1 minute.
But a lot of people used the beavers and it worked. Yeah, so that was it.
Okay, thank you very much. Juliet Oki, can you just give us about your beavers situation?
1 minute, please.
1 minute, please.
The beavers in all the places that we went to, the beavers was used, but the question, what I'm reporting what I saw in the field, a lot of places, the accreditation was done, but also we found out that in some of those places, like by the time we get into a place, we will try to find out how many persons. Can you relatively tell us how many persons you've captured for today and all of that? But then at the end of the polls and with what we saw as results, a lot of huge numbers came as the results, which also contradicted what some of us saw on ground. Then that also leaves us with the question, was the beavers used all through or was it bypassed at some point? But then relatively, when you get there and ask your questions, they'll tell you we've been using the beavers. And for those we saw where the accreditation was done, where we are on ground, people came, used the beavers, accreditations were made. But then at the end of the day, most of the figures that came out didn't reflect what we saw, as in the level of participation of people that came out to vote in some of those places.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you very much, Juliet Okoye, so much for, you know, observing the election and, of course, for reporting to us at Galaxy Television. We appreciate your input so much. Thank you very much. And also thank you, Jim Dogo from, Bayelsa State, also reporting to us how, the election went and giving us updated information. We really appreciate you for joining us on the program. It's been an amazing one. Thank you so much, my viewers, also for joining. Until next week, where we have another fabulous topic to discuss about, which you do not want to miss. My name is Rose Blossom. Do you have a fabulous weekend, and bye for now.
Yes, I'm Wale Ogwande, your host on this program. I hope, and I really want to thank our guests, our Zoom guests from Yenegua. Next time I get there, I'll bring you fish from that place. fish. And from Owerri. When I come back, we're going to see. Is it Ofe? I'll bring Ofe.
Okay,
I'll come with Ofe. Julia, don't worry. When we come, we'll see. So it's a nice time. We had a great time together. You're welcome. And I really want to appreciate you for honoring us and for taking time off your schedule. Very busy. And I want to know that very soon. What I want you to do for us, please, your report, send it to INEC. Let it be part of your report that you send to INEC for a better election that we will conduct in Edo the next few months. Before then, please just do the right thing, be on the side of the law, don't do anything against the law. Till next week, I'm Wale Ogwande, your host on this program.